he's probably not thinking.
Mm-mm.
Is it appropriate to say I wasn't thinking?
I don't think that statement's ever true.
Okay.
So probably not. Because the brother was definitely thinking about something. That was quitting his job.
Yeah, just probably not thinking the right idea in mind.
Or
With
he,
the right idea.
or he
Lacks
wanted to
perspective.
keep his job. He just wanted to be paid more,
Right.
which he thought was committed to him at some point in time. So you're right, Ashton.
Have you ever felt awkward when trying to start a conversation? Do you ever find yourself feeling overwhelmed? Or perhaps you wish you could keep track of your money better? Do adulting skills give you grief? What if you had one place to go to learn about all these skills and more?
Welcome to Adulting Encrypted. We prepare young adults to be independent powerhouses for life. An independent powerhouse is someone who possesses the ability to be socially, emotionally, practically, and financially independent.
Let's take a quick second for us to introduce ourselves.
I'm Ashton. When I first moved out, I wanted nothing more than independence. There were a lot of things that I didn't know, and I needed help from my parents in basically all facets of my life. I went on a 2-year service mission, and when I came home, I was determined to do better than I did before. I'm now living on my own, paying for my own place, and learning a ton of lessons that I am happy to learn, even though they may be difficult. I'm excited to share what I'm learning. I'm also excited to learn with you.
I'm Gideon, and while seeing the world and people around me, I've always wanted to stand out and be more prepared than my peers, lacking the skill to know where to look and to find guidance, other than my older and wiser family. Now with this podcast, I can learn how to progress and share this knowledge with others.
I'm Roscoe, the dad. Michelle and I thought we had taught the children everything they needed to know to become adults. Then one day at dinner, we were having a conversation about an Ivy League school had just started Adulting 101, and they were teaching such basic skills, and I was laughing. That's when Ashton jumped in, Gene and Gideon, and all told us about the gaps in our training. That is why we decided to launch Adulting Decrypted.
Normally, there are 4 hosts for the show. Gene, the 4th host, is currently on a 2-year service mission.
I'm Gene, and I'm actually recording this on my phone because I'm out in Louisiana and Mississippi. I won't be able to join the discussion today. I will be back, I promise.
While we won't be able to hear his live comments, we're looking forward to sharing his thoughts and his stories regularly on the show.
And now, on with the episode.
One day I walked into the kitchen and I saw Gideon with his hand on this fridge and his other hand was reached over to the countertop. So just to give the listener perspective, it's about 3 feet. And so he was putting one hand on the fridge, one hand on the, and it, at the time it was probably almost his whole arm span, but he was seeing how strong he was and he was kind of holding himself there. Gene grabbed the fridge door. He opens up the fridge door, which then causes Gideon to... Do you remember the situation? Yep, he falls right on the ground. And my question was, Gene, what were you thinking? What was his answer? Do you guys remember that?
Nope.
Dad.
No.
I don't remember any of this.
Oh, do you remember this, Gideon?
No, not really.
Oh, you must have been knocked out or something.
Probably.
He looks at me with a straight face and goes, Dad, you told me I'm still a kid, so I'm still brain dead. I wasn't thinking. and he goes, my brain's not fully formed until I'm 28, so I still wasn't thinking.
Gene for you.
So when an adult asks you, what were you thinking? Sometimes these questions are really a chance to reflect and do some self-examination. What are you thinking? How does that apply in the adulting context? When you're asked, what are you thinking?
A lot of ways. So many ways.
I feel like whenever that question gets asked, a little pit in my stomach is like ready to engulf my feelings.
Because it's normally not a positive question.
No, it's not.
There's a couple ways this can be asked, right? It can be a self-reflecting, like seriously, a learning experience, accountability, a decision-making opportunity. You could truly be seeking advice, or, that's kind of the times that, what are you thinking? But you're right. A lot of times that question is, what were you thinking? The reason why I ask it a lot is the reflection and self-examination, or for a learning experience, I think is where I use them the most. I've seen guys text their boss and say, I'm so upset at this job. If you don't get it solved within the next 8 hours, I'm going to quit. What do you think that guy's thinking at that moment in time?
He wants to quit.
Yeah, he wants to quit, or he wants the problem resolved.
Mm-hmm.
And he feels like he's maybe hit his last straw. What do you think a boss thinks when he gets that email?
This employee is not trustworthy. I don't care about the company.
Being selfish, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think when we hit those situations of what were you thinking, there's two different sides of that in that relationship or in that interaction. But as an individual, you have to ask yourself, what is my desired result? Is almost the better question before you go down that said action path. Like in that scenario, the guy didn't feel like he was being heard.
Right.
So he types up this long text string and sends it to somebody at Friday night at 6 o'clock at night, threatening to quit if it's not resolved in the next 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
What was he thinking?
Wanted to send a message, I think.
Yeah, he's frustrated. He's irritated.
Yeah.
He's probably not thinking.
Mm-mm.
Is it appropriate to say, I wasn't thinking?
I don't think that statement's ever true.
Okay.
So probably not. Because the brother was definitely thinking about something. That was quitting his job.
Yeah, just probably not thinking the right idea in mind. Like
Or
with the right idea.
he
Lax
wanted to
perspective.
keep his job. He just wanted to be paid more,
Right.
which he thought was committed to him at some point in time. So you're right, Ashton. He was probably thinking of all the times he was slighted. He was probably thinking of all the times that it didn't work out the right way. He was probably thinking of all the things that had upset him. So I would challenge us to go, what are we thinking? Which really drives back to what result are we going for? What was Gene's purpose in opening the door?
Probably wanted to get to some food.
I think he wanted to make you fall.
I really think he wanted to make you fall.
That's my guess.
Yeah, I'm with Ashton on this one. I'm thinking
If it was me.
he thought it would be funny to see how long Gideon could hold on before he fell.
Yeah.
But what he wasn't thinking is that, with Gideon having both his hands and his feet up in the air trying to hold himself up,
Falling hurts.
yeah, he's going to fall on his head. He's not going to hit anything but his butt or his head. Right? So his thought was, to your point, Ashton, he was probably thinking, this is going to be funny. I want to see how long he can hold on.
Yep.
But he wasn't thinking through the next 2 or 3 steps that happen.
How does that make you feel?
I just noticed that I was doing the iron cross.
You probably were trying.
You said my feet were in the air. That's like freaking gymnastics level 20.
Ooh.
20,000.
Is there 20 levels in gymnastics? I got to
no
think through that
idea.
one. But you're right. You were doing something that was cool. To you, it was just fun. And I've told you over and over, don't lean on those 2 things because it bugs me because you're going to rip the door off the fridge. But you weighed like 30 pounds, but still, it would irritate me.
As opposed to the 60 you're at now.
$160. 116?
195. Just kidding. Yeah, you're right. It's about
It's like
60.
you're almost 200 pounds. What?
He's lying to you.
200 pounds of steel.
Yeah, I was going to say that muscle mass be going crazy nowadays. Hello. If you're listening to this right now, that means you're currently listening to an episode of Adulting Decrypted. And let me just say thank you. My name's Ashton, one of the hosts of Adulting Decrypted, and I wanted to steal a quick second of your time to do a shameless little plug. If you've listened to our podcast for any sort of time, you know that we talk about a bunch of different stuff all about adulting. Because our goal is to help individuals in this task we call adulting. Now, we have just revamped the way that we do this. If you go to adultingdecrypted.com, you can see all of our episodes sorted out by category. We've sorted it into financial, practical, emotional, social, and things just for fun. So, if any of those categories are of particular interest to you right now, you can go onto the website, look through there, and see all of our episodes that correlate with that specific thing. This website's completely free to use. It's just another tool for our listeners to find things that are more important to them now. So, for example, if I was looking at it, I'd scroll through and say, hey, you know what? I want to see what the Adult and Encrypted crew has talked about socially. Well, one of our first episodes, season 1, episode 3, how do I talk to people? That's where we talked about all how to talk to people. So if that's something you want right now, you can go find that right now. Also in this one, season 3, episode 15, The Power of a Humble Mediator, where we talked to one of my old bosses about his business as a mayor, also as a small theater owner. Some really cool stuff. So, if you're looking for a better way to organize through all your self-help podcasts, try adultingdecrypted.com and enjoy the rest of the episode.
So I would challenge us on that reflecting and self-examination to think, what do I want out of it? The other part of what are you thinking can be a learning experience. Sometimes you're not thinking. You've not been in that situation. So it's truly a learning experience. You're like, I didn't know what to think. I've never been in this situation. I wasn't thinking. I wasn't, aware of it. The other one is on, I think the other time it gets used a lot is an accountability. Like you didn't show up. You didn't text back. You didn't insert whatever there. Like, what were you thinking? Is also another way to say, what were you thinking about versus thinking about this job, thinking about the experience we're having.
Right.
So I think it's important as adults that you take accountability. So when somebody asks you that, like Gene did, I wasn't thinking, I'm brain dead still. You should be honest with somebody. You're right, I wasn't thinking about that. I can think of times when I've asked some people to do something and I don't get a full good effort. I'd much rather somebody just own it and say, yeah, I'm distracted. I had a boss that I worked for a while, and he would stop me. I'd be talking about something, he'd stop. Say, stop, hold on. I'm not thinking about what you're talking about.
Yep.
I've got two things going on. I can only focus on one, and you're not it right now.
Yep.
How do you think I felt?
Put down a little bit, but I feel like in a second, like a couple minutes later, you'd be like, okay, like that is better for my issue right now than him not listening.
Correct, 100%. At first, I was irritated. I was like, who is this guy?
Right.
And then I'm like, oh, I'm kind of grateful that he was being honest about it. So as you go through these, I think it's okay to own it. I wasn't thinking. Like Gene's answer was probably pretty genuine. I wasn't thinking.
Yeah.
But it could be, also going back up the other one that we were talking about, where he should have self-reflected. He goes, well, I really wanted to see if Gideon could hold on while I opened the door and see if he was going to fall.
Which, I mean, if Gideon was level 25 gymnastics, he probably
instead of
could have
level
made it
20.
out.
Just
Yeah.
the 5 dang levels.
Yeah, those 5 dang levels that are just out of reach. You've been in gymnastics for all that time and you just couldn't hit number 25.
What a shame.
Yeah, the
What a
whole
shame.
5 classes you went to before you realized they were too strict.
They were. I couldn't do my backflips.
That's all you wanted to do. He did. He wanted to show up and just do backflips. So make it. Be willing to admit when you weren't thinking. I used to have a boss that you'd be talking to him, and he'd have his computer face so that he could see you, and he thought that he was tricking me and that he was actually paying attention to me. And if I would have said, "What are you thinking about?" he would have been like, "I was looking at this car on KSL, and I think I won't buy it, or I will buy it." Because he had no clue. If I asked him what I was talking about, he probably would have said, I don't know. But the other guy would go, hold on, I'm not paying attention to you right now. Let me look at this car I want to buy.
Yeah.
Okay. Ashton, yes. What did you want to talk about?
I really appreciate when people do that. I personally have to do that a lot. Where it's like, hold on. Okay. Like when I'm teaching, especially, you be answering someone's question, and then someone will come and ask you, and you're like, okay, if I start to answer your question, I'm going to forget what I'm talking about over here. Give me 2 seconds, and then I'll get back to you. So
I like that. Or, hey, I'll cover that later, right? If it interrupts your flow, you can say, oh, great question. We'll get back to it.
right,
Just don't forget to get back to it.
right.
What are you thinking? I think you can use this in decision making. And here's why. A decision, and you look back on a decision you recently made. Think of a time that you're like, recently, that you made a decision, you went, huh, that sucks. Or that was awesome. The outcome could have been either side. Go back and think about, what was I thinking when I made that decision? You know, as I've been trying to get better at golf, I get in my head a lot. I'm like, okay, I've got to keep this, my front arm, my left arm's got to be pretty straight, pretty locked in. I've spent a lot of time thinking, right? Trying to make the right decision. And I'll hit the ball and I'll go, okay, what did I do right?
Yeah.
Normally when I hit the ball good, I normally go, yeah, I'm the freaking man. Drop the club, Tiger Woods.
Do a little flip.
Yeah. When I hit it bad, I throw the club.
With a little bit of a flip.
Yeah. It's hard to tell which one I'm doing, good or bad,
yeah.
right? Everybody looks at it and goes, I don't know what he's thinking. Literally, what is he thinking? I think it's okay, though, not in a golf scenario. Golf, you should get to where you're just hitting the ball, but it's okay to go back and look at a decision, whether it worked out in your favor or against your favor. Go, what was I thinking at the moment? But that's okay when you go back and reevaluate your decision.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that? Anything come to mind on a decision you made recently that you go, what was I thinking? Or that you could pinpoint, this was what I was thinking when I tried it, and I didn't like it, or I did like it?
I have one.
Do you?
I do have one.
Have me your phone. I'll record you as you talk about it.
I'd rather not. That's
Okay.
okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So, normally I have a beard. I don't anymore. And I've been thinking about it for a while. I was like, I really just want to shave. And then today I was in a hurry, and I was like, I need to trim up my beard a little bit. I trimmed it, and I was like, I freaking hate how it looks. And then so I went and trimmed it some more. Like, I still hate it. And then my brain was like, just cut it off. I'm like, I'm not doing that. And then my brain's like, do it. And I was like, fine. And
Do it.
It was really dramatic, and I cut it off. And it actually, I think it put me through like a little bit of shock. Like, I started shaking as I cut it off. It was kind of crazy.
Well, it becomes part of your identity, right?
Yeah, well, and I've had it for 3 years. Like, I haven't
believe
been
that.
clean shaven in like 3 years. So it's a lot. I don't remember the full question. No, I'm not happy with this decision.
Well,
I won't be doing it
Yeah,
again.
but you go back to what you're thinking when you made that decision. Something led you up to that thought
Yeah,
for the last month and a half.
sure.
What was it?
I'm gonna refrain from answering that question, but
Okay.
I have thoughts about it for sure.
Okay. That's fair. So as long as you know what they are,
Yeah.
and then you can look through them and evaluate and say, okay, did it really help me? Or did it hinder me
Right.
with that decision? But we've got to realize that not all decisions, you're not controlling every input. So for shaving your face, if you're saying, I wanted it to help me run faster, right? When kids get new shoes, how many times I've seen new shoes help you guys run faster?
Yeah.
Why are you looking at me like that? You would get new cleats and go, Dad, look how fast I can run with these cleats on.
And I could run so fast.
You still are fast.
Choose your upgrades.
But the reality is the cleats were only one input of probably 30 different components to running faster.
I look so cool now. I can run even faster.
Right.
Yeah.
Is having a less beard make you run faster?
Yes.
It may be.
I'm more aerodynamic now.
There you go. See, so
smooth, the air just goes right around.
But it's only then I should be really fast based on that conversation. But that's only one component of it, right? So there's all these other factors. Do you have fast shoes?
I don't. No,
See, there you go. So see, you've only got one factor
Dang
of the
it.
two. You need to be clean shaven and you have to have fast shoes.
I wasn't ready to buy shoes. I
So-
didn't know.
Yeah. So sometimes when we make a decision, we're like, oh, it's all because I shaved my beard that I didn't shoot a deer today, right? Or I didn't. Totally unrelated. Insert reality there. It's all because I shaved my beard. My car broke down. Knock on wood. I forgot to knock on wood, so something bad happened. No, that's how
Right.
those things get started. And so it's okay to think back and say, okay, why did I do this? It didn't give me the outcome, and that's okay. But be willing to rethink it. The next one is, what were you thinking? I think there's a time that you can seek advice and guidance from somebody else. And what I mean by that is you go, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. What are your thoughts? You spent time with me and asked me that for college. Gideon, you've asked me that at different times. Hey, this is what I'm trying to get. This is the result I want. This is what I'm thinking about doing to help me get to that result. And then you can have that dialogue. Hey, I was thinking about dropping out of high school because I want to go live a van life. Okay, cool. That would result potentially in that. But how much is a van?
So much money.
Yeah.
So much money.
So I would say, okay, could you make a little bit more money if you stayed in high school and maybe delayed the desired outcome, 6 months or a year? So it's okay to, what were you thinking? You've stewed on this idea, you've thought about it, and you go, okay, I'm going to go talk to somebody who's been there, who's done that, who has that T-shirt, and say, hey, I was going to do this. Do you think it would help? Now, there's other times you have to say, hey, thanks a lot for your advice, but I'm going to go do what I need to do, right? Because we're all looking at it through our own lens. Even with you and Gideon, you guys are 8 years apart?
Is that right?
Quick math.
I think it's right.
I'm 25. How old are you?
17.
That'd be
8 years.
Yeah.
So at 8 years apart, you guys are going to look at some things very differently. And other things you guys are going to be very close on, where I'm going to be the outlier.
Right.
And sometimes the three of us are going to think very similar, and Mom will be the outlier based on shared experiences and life things that have happened.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're doing those as a seeking advice and guidance, and what were you thinking, you might want to say, okay, I'm going to temper that. Now, had Gene asked me, love picking on Gene because he's not here right now, but hey, Dad, what do you think would happen if I opened up the fridge door? Well, Gene, I think you're going to drop Gideon on his butt. Oh, good. That's what I wanted to have happen. Right? He opens
Sweet.
the door. Yeah. Confirmed. Or I'd say, oh, Gene, I don't think anything will happen if you open that door. And Gene goes, I think Gideon will fall on his butt. I probably shouldn't open the door. It gets that chance for you to still seek advice, but still go with what you want to.
Yeah.
What are you thinking? We kind of summed it up in a few different areas. It's a good time to do self-examination and reflect. It's a chance to use it as a learning and say, okay, I did this input, I got this output. It drives accountability. It can help you with your decision-making skills, can help you go look for advice for others. Here's the key kicker. While it's important to reflect on the past and go, what was I thinking then? Like Scott Bell said, even in our podcast when we had him on, don't judge your 25-year-old self with your 50-year-old self knowledge. Meaning that you can't look back and say, oh, I shouldn't have shaved my beard because it was going to piss me off. Because you didn't know until you did it. It's important to say, as an adult especially, there's going to be times that we have to forgive ourselves and say, okay, or not even forgive ourselves. You don't have anything to forgive yourself from.
Right.
You tried something. It didn't work out. You don't love it.
Right.
And you go, okay, cool. Let's just move forward with it. And so don't get so hung up on that what were you thinking question that it stops you from making decisions and moving forward.
Right.
Because just like the track shoes, having new shoes doesn't necessarily make you faster, but it can help.
Yeah.
Having the right short shorts can't make you faster, but it can help. Right? Going to the gym every day and doing leg day is part of what makes you faster, potentially, but it's not all of it. Right? There's so many factors that go inside of that. How cold was it? How was the wind? Did I have the right gear? Did I drink enough water? Whatever. I'm not an athlete. Well, I am an athlete. I have a resting heart rate of 54.
I saw that.
At age 50. So I guess I am an athlete. Gideon, I'll give you advice on how to run faster.
Sounds good. Hit me.
Just do it.
Okay.
So remember, there's a bunch of other factors when you step back and look at life, and be patient with yourself. As you go through this adulting process, you're going to have to say, I messed up. Or, there was 2 other factors I didn't consider. Or, I didn't think I'd encounter that cookie tonight when I was trying not to eat sweets. So whatever that is that you're trying to accomplish, think about what am I thinking? What do I want to get as my result? Stay tuned. You'll hear some fun outtakes and some bloopers of our start.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Adult and Decrypted. We really enjoyed having this week's conversation, and we hope you did as well.
If you ever want to comment on the topics, you can send us a message to our website, adultingdecrypted.com, our email, adultingdecrypted@gmail.com, or through our Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn accounts at adultingdecrypted.
If you have any topics for the show that you would like us to talk about, or if you are a parent and want us to talk about something your kids should know, send us a message on any of the accounts mentioned. If you would like to be a guest or have an idea for someone you think we should have on our show, feel free to send us an email detailing your thoughts to adultingdecrypted@gmail.com. Adulting is teamwork.
We have merch. If you want to show off your Adulting Decrypted pride, check out our website, adultingdecrypted.com, or our partner website with shop.spreadshirt.com/adulting-decrypted.
Lastly, if you enjoyed the show, please consider supporting us on our Patreon at Adulting Decrypted. Along with the benefits that come with our Patreon, and trust us, there are some pretty good ones in there, you will not only be helping us continue in the effort to make great content, but you will be part of a community of individuals all trying their best to adult.
We appreciate you listening, enjoying, and leaving your positive reviews. Now, the special song from Gene and Gideon.
That was a perfect minute and a half. You nerd.
Remember? She doesn't want to see the sausage being made. All right.
Gotta love them sausages.
All right. Let's get...
We all heard you talk about making sausage.
I needed to record something, and I'm trying to think of how to do it.
Okay.
Something about our intro, because we don't have our good... I mean, our intro's pretty long right now.
Yep.
Next, we'll have our intro. If you want to skip past that, just hit fast forward for a minute and a half, and you'll be into the rest of the episode. Thanks for joining us at Adulting Decrypted. There's an in the middle of that.
Well, yeah, I thought you were just... I mean, they're going to skip it if they want to skip it.
But they don't know how long to skip it necessarily, right? Is it a minute and a half, or do you know how long it is?
Just leave it out. Just get rid of it.
Can you send me just the music?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, you can do that.
It's just they said, I was reading about what Kevin said about making them shorter, getting rid of them. I don't know.
Yep. 30 seconds or less.
Yep. Not 2 minutes and 30 seconds or more. No,
it's not that.
No, I know, but
I don't even know if the song's that long.
Actually, I don't think the song is that long.
I think the song's actually 4 minutes. I think it is.
So we can do it at the end. Has somebody ever in your life asked?
Sorry.
You're good.
I was going to ask if we're trying to get this all done right now.
We're just trying to get the second one done real quick.
How long are you shooting for?
20 minutes or less.
Okay.
Good thing we waited.
Ew.
Who's got a watch on him?
That's gross.
Can you time it where I can see it?
I got, do you want like a this? I can give you one of these. Like a $5.
Okay. Every 5 minutes?
I'm not going to do I'll give you the last 5 minutes.
Okay. Perfect.
I'll give you a signal at 15 minutes.
Just give me a timer count. Got it? Thank you.
Oh, well.
Guys, I have a question, which I normally start them with a question. Let's do it different.
Okay, let's start with a different question. What do you got, Dad?
Trying to think of how to do this.
Hit me with a statement.
One day, let's go this way.
Ooh.
Hit me with an observation of fact.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Adult and Decrypted. We really enjoyed having this week's conversation, and we hope you did as well.
If you ever want to comment on the topics, you can send us a message to our website, adultingdecrypted.com, our email, adultingdecrypted@gmail.com, or through our Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn accounts at adultingdecrypted.
If you have any topics for the show that you would like us to talk about, or if you are a parent and want us to talk about something your kids should know, send us a message on any of the accounts mentioned. If you would like to be a guest or have an idea for someone you think we should have on our show, feel free to send us an email detailing your thoughts to adultingdecrypted@gmail.com. Adulting is teamwork.
We have merch. If you want to show off your Adulting Decrypted pride, check out our website, adultingdecrypted.com, or our partner website with shop.spreadshirt.com/adulting-decrypted.
Lastly, if you enjoyed the show, please consider supporting us on our Patreon at Adulting Decrypted. Along with the benefits that come with our Patreon, and trust us, there are some pretty good ones in there, you will not only be helping us continue in the effort to make great content, but you will be part of a community of individuals all trying their best to adult.
We appreciate you listening, enjoying, and leaving your positive reviews. Now, the special song from Gene and Gideon.